Right, our next trip is to go and see Dennis Lover in lockdown in his garage. It seems at the moment, but there's a very interesting collection there on your shelves, Dennis.
Well, yes, I've spent a lot of time in here in the last 13 weeks trying to sort out all the stuff I've accumulated over 60 odd years and trying to put it in some form of order. I'm about halfway there, so I could probably do another 13 weeks lockdown to be able to finish the job.
Any interesting finds in there?
A few things I'd forgotten buying, including my first locomotive, which is a bit like Trigger's broom. One new body and two new chassis, but apart from that, it's original.
What model's that then?
It's Triumph Princess Elizabeth 46201, bought for me by my parents in Christmas 1958 when I was the grand old age of 5.
Fantastic, fantastic. And it looks as though you collect a few bits of railway armour as well when you get a chance.
Well, one or two bits accumulated over the years, as you do. But yes, a few bits of interest and a lot I've seen over the years, which posters and things I produced back in my days in the advertising department. Wish I'd have kept a few because they go for a few quid now.
Don't they just? I've been looking at quite a few myself, and even throwaway stuff from the 70s and 80s. I mean, it's eye-watering prices.
Well, it is, and of course, it was everyday occurrence stuff there, even when, Network Southeast, Intercity, all of that. And of course, that's now as historical as things like the London Northwestern and the LMS.
Yeah. Okay, well, obviously, giving you a shout to get a bit of an update on Locomotion as a museum and Locomotion models as well. But it looks like you're starting your own little museum there anyway in the meantime. So.
Yeah, but basically the museum situation at the present time is that it's in lockdown. We have been advised only yesterday that we can look at reopening, but obviously there's an awful lot of work to be done in the interim. It doesn't just, of course, affect the museum. There's things like catering, how you deal with that, the retail arm, all of which no doubt probably got slightly different rules. But our management team at the SMG will be going through those guidelines and looking to see how they can open up the facilities to the public once again.
So it might not happen immediately on July the 4th, this wondrous day.
Certainly not going to happen on July the 4th because our staff at the moment are still on furlough. You can imagine things like locomotives after 13 weeks of being locked down are going to probably be covered in dust to start with. Basically on the Monday when lockdown occurred, our staff closed the doors, and apart from security staff, that's it. The whole thing has just been left since then. So once the museum is able to reopen, we've got to look at things like social distancing, probably one-way systems, how we deal with the retail side, how we deal with the catering side, a lot of things. It's only in the last 2 weeks, a Locomotion. On the model side, we've been given dispensation to allow Stuart back into Locomotion 3 days a week to be able to process orders that were outstanding and to get them collected and delivered to our customers. So that is only just happened, but I appreciate it's been a difficult time for everybody. Most of our staff, as I say, were furloughed. In the meantime, those of us on the management side of Locomotion have continued to work with some of the manufacturers, etc., and work on stuff for the future.
Well, I mean, obviously, Stuart, sort of like taking on a bit of a night watchman role, it seems, having a wander around the museum, showing us everything in lockdown as it stands. But we should have given him a duster then.
Well, apart from the security staff, obviously we have to have security staff on site for obvious reasons. But apart from that, one security manager in the day and Stuart on his own in his famous distribution cupboard, and that's how we've been processing the orders for the last 2 weeks now. And
yeah, lockdown itself came at an awkward time, didn't it? Just as you'd had all of the Class 33s arrive.
Well, the Class 33 was ready to go out on the Tuesday, and unfortunately on the Monday night, the doors got bolted and that was it. And it was only the last 2 weeks. And as you will know, we donated one to the event that you organised. And ironically, on the very day that the chap who named the locomotive, John Farrow, passed away. Hertfordshire Rail Tours, of course, was his company. So, yes, we've managed to even get that to the customer now. So everybody is starting to see the jobs going through, the process is taking place, and we have also increased the amount of stock from the shop onto the online side, which Stuart again has done. So if anybody's looking for anything that other people have sold out of, there may be a chance that we have it in stock at Locomotion, so they can check that on the Locomotion Models website.
With Class 33, you've obviously sent out all of the pre-orders, but you've still got some stock available of those.
Yes, we have, and of course we also sell the other exclusives that we've produced over the last few years. Those that remain in stock, some don't. We've got new stuff coming through as well. So it is very much a case at the moment of, yes, we have suffered some delays. It's been very frustrating for everybody, but the importance was that everybody is safe and sound. And now we're gradually starting the process of getting back to some form of normality, whatever that may be in the future.
Indeed. Now, noticed obviously whilst Stuart's been doing his walk around, there's a bit of an unusual exhibit in the centre of the museum at the moment. The Roland Emmett's display. It's quite fascinating, that.
It is. I mean, the Roland Emmett display, it's called A Quiet Afternoon. Sorry, start again. A Quiet Afternoon in Cloud Cuckoo Valley. And obviously it's based on the famous Far Twittering and Oyster Creek Railway. And some real stuff ran around in 1951 at the famous Festival of Britain exhibition, which was held at that time. So Emmett, of course, produced a lot of, shall we say, automata, basically for film sets and various exhibitions and events. Most famous probably being the famous breakfast scene in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which I'm sure people are familiar with. So that kind of thing, yes, it is railway related, and it will be going on tour around the various Science Museum Group venues over the next year or so. Okay,
and then at the opposite end of the era spectrum, that you've got a pacer sitting outside now.
We have. We were kindly donated Pacer 142001, which of course was the first one to emerge in 1985. 96 of them were built up until 1987. So yeah, it's a latest piece of railway it's the latest piece of railway rolling stock to appear at Locomotion, and it will be used hopefully in the future on our demonstration line to carry passengers. It is of course of local interest because up until fairly recently the 142s and other type of units were operational on the line between Darlington and Bishop Auckland. So you get some idea that it's almost a local character.
Anyway, moving back to the model side of it, probably the next thing new that we're going to be seeing sort of like on the shelves from you is the limited edition of the Terrier, Box Hill.
It is. It's due with us at the end of July. Now, you need to appreciate that when we were into lockdown, it was due to be one of the first to be delivered, and some have been delivered to our retail partners, Rails of Sheffield, in the last few weeks. So ours was in the first batch to be produced, or assembled, I should say, because they've all been produced. Ours will now be in the very last batch to be assembled. And that's because basically at the moment, with only one person around, we can't take delivery of them and get them out. We need to process people's orders. We need to do credit card and debit card payments, all that kind of thing. We need a team of people to be able to pack them up and get them out. And of course, under normal circumstances, that's not too difficult. At the moment, it's very difficult. So we had to take that decision, not knowing as and when we would be in a position to reopen the museums in the immediate future. So we've had to take that decision to basically put them towards the back of the queue rather than being at the front. And I'm sure people will appreciate that. Even if we'd have had them, we could have done nothing with them for 11 weeks. And as I say, it's only the last 2 weeks that we've been able to process some orders. And of course, we had quite a few of those to process. So hopefully everybody's now got their product.
So, I mean, obviously, people who've pre-ordered Boxhill will see it maybe in a month or so, fingers crossed, as long as everything goes to plan. But you've still got some of those available if anybody wants to reserve them too.
Yes, we've got them on our website to pre-order at the moment. Obviously, I expect a surge of orders once they do actually hit the shelves, and we'll start advertising again. At the moment, I've had to take the decision to not advertise product so that we don't frustrate our customers who would expect, a delivery perhaps in a day or two. At the time I had to take that decision, we had no staff in the facilities whatsoever to be able to process anything. So it has been shall we say, a difficult time for the business, which of course is Locomotion Models, which is a subsidiary of Locomotion and the Science Museum Group. It's the exclusive division of the company.
Well, last year when it was at the launch of the D class, that some numbers were actually put against the contribution that Locomotion Models has made, obviously, to the museums, and it's quite substantial, isn't it?
Yes, I mean it has been a very successful operation. We did have a little bit of a lull between some personnel changes and before I came on board, but that's nothing to do with me in terms of the stuff moving forward. Some of that was already in the process of being planned, scanned and drawn up. Others of it have been added since, and we're very much a team. So although some of that stuff was coming through, and of course the Terrier and so forth were well before my time joining the museum for Bachmann. So those things are only just coming to fruition, and I think people sometimes forget the kind of amount of time it takes to bring a model to fruition, from the original decision being made to let's go and make X or let's go and make Y. You've got all the research, you've got all the different processes, you've got to find the right way of making that model work correctly. It's not going to sit on a shelf in a museum, it's got to run on people's layouts, and there has to be compromises sometimes. At the end of the day, we want to produce a model that's top quality and that represents the brand that we have on the box, which of course is Locomotion Models. We are a division of the National Railway Museum. It's internationally renowned across the world for being of high quality and giving value for money. That's what we want to do. And so therefore anything that we produce has to be researched, and there's a whole team of people behind that, not just the people you may know, but people from the museum itself, some of the curators, some of the researchers, some of the people who go and find pictures for us, who look up records, that kind of thing. So it very much is a team effort, and I'm only just one of the players in the team. So it's very much a case of getting the product sorted well in advance, and it's probably 2 to 3 years, and I've been saying this for years, as you well know. It takes 3, sometimes even longer, to get a model onto the shelves. It can, of course, be delayed by hitting brick walls, and with every project you hit brick walls at certain times, and you have to almost inch your way over the top of them, drop down the other side and run until you hit another brick wall. And that very much is the case with a lot of model railway development, which people don't always appreciate.
Well, you don't know how big those brick walls are until you've actually sort of like started the process, do you?
Some of them are like skyscrapers, I can assure you. It is very difficult to know what you're going to hit. It could be, will it go round corners? Will if you put those footsteps there, will it foul that? If you put that coupling on the front, what does it do to the front end accessories, that kind of thing? It just depends what the end user is going to do with the product you sell them. Are they going to run it, or are they going to put it in a glass case? And you've got to allow for both types of the market.
So we know that you've got products arriving quite soon. We know obviously that you've got things like the D-Class coming along in due course, medium term. But with you saying about these timelines, that indicates to me that you've probably got some other projects underway.
We're working on stuff now. Not that I'm going to tell you, Andy, as you probably appreciate.
I can always try.
I'd have to be short if I did, but there is stuff going on behind the scenes. We are working with a number of manufacturers on a number of different products, and most of those are not in the public domain. They probably would have been by now under normal circumstances, but of course what we're doing is waiting for the right time when we can get people together, when we can do that. However, that's not stopping the work. Instead of seeing a grey model, you may well see a painted one, a proper livery sample. So we've not slowed the process down, and I always believe that the closer you can get that product completed, the better you are to announce it, as and when you've got something constructive to show people. And with the D-Class, as you remember at York, we did in fact show the grey parts that had been assembled literally that weekend by Dapol from the parts that they'd been supplied from the factory. So yes, it is an ongoing process. So in addition to that, we've got the Terrier, which we've already mentioned. We've got the 94XX from Bachmann, number 9400, which of course is a National Railway Museum or part of the National Collection locomotive, although it's normally down at Steam in Swindon. We've got the two versions of the Class 55 Deltic that we have, King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry. They're being developed for us by Acroscale, and there's two versions of that. One of them is 9002, which will be in the livery as it is now, the preserved livery, Era 9 if you like. And then we've got 55002, which is the 1980s version, which ran for the last year. It was all painted up and paid for by the Friends of the National Rail Museum. It carried full yellow ends and green livery. So it's that 1980/1981 condition in which it was withdrawn. So yes, exciting times ahead. There are, as I say, other things in the melting pot as well as the D-Class. We should start to see some pretty good results of those well before the end of the year.
Excellent.
It's difficult being here, kind of as it is now, without having seen a lot of stuff recently, but or attending any meetings regarding progress on those kind of things. But we are at the moment not sitting back doing nothing. There is a lot going on behind the scenes, and people will see the results of those labours in due course. And of course, we'll let you know.
Well, thanks very much indeed for the update. Certainly been very useful. And I wish everybody well getting back up to steam anyway. And hopefully we get to see each other in sometime in the not too distant future.
Yes, well, I'm sure we'll all catch up together. I'm missing the exhibitions because that's the opportunity we get to talk to our customers, find out what they want. And exhibitions have been very much a part of my life all the way through, but particularly for the last 15 years, 13 of them with Bachmann, the last 2 years with the National Railway Museum. So, they are very important ways of meeting our customers, finding out what their aspirations are, what they think about products, etc. And of course, we're not getting any of that. We should go back to advertising once we have an opening date. and we are able to open the doors, then yes, we will be doing that again. So, you know, people may be slightly concerned that they're not hearing a lot. We have put a newsletter out recently. We will be doing so again. As soon as we've got something to say, we'll be saying it, don't worry.
Excellent. All right, well, I look forward to hearing updates. Thank you very much indeed, Dennis, and pass on my regards to everybody else in the team.